Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It shouldn't come as no surprise that I have serious concerns with both the deployment of the National Guard and the Marines to Los Angeles. I served in the Marine Corps. We are trained to be war fighters, not for crowd control. Everyone here should be alarmed that the president has sent armed forces into a city against the wishes of a governor and mayor. I am concerned this administration is purposely escalating the situation with this step and politicizing our armed forces in the process. Let's call it for what it is. It's political theater. Hegseth, are the Marines in Los Angeles ordered to protect property by any means necessary?
Sir, I would say the ICE officers and police officers being attacked is not political theater. The National Guard and Marines,
just yes or no. Just yes or no.
The National Guard and Marines have the full authority to protect federal ICE agents.
Yes or no.
Just
can you just say yes or no? This isn't Fox anymore. Just yes or no.
They're there to protect federal agents and federal.
Another BS answer. Under the SRUF, the use of force, are Marines allowed to fire warning shots?
No.
Now that's more like it. Isn't that easy? Well, I'm going to beat this drum because you refuse to take responsibility. Will you take responsibility for having made a mistake? Not to mention, many people would say break the law in participating in the Signal group chat that included a journalist, your wife, your brother, where classified information was shared.
Sir, every way I communicate is authorized. Every way
okay, if you want to say that.
Pause right there. Before we continue, I want you to understand exactly what you just watched. That man telling the Secretary of Defense to get out, his name is Carbajal. He's a Marine. He served in the Gulf War. He knows what it means to be accountable for lives on a battlefield. The man sitting across from him? Pete Hegseth, former host of Fox and Friends Weekend. Never commanded troops in combat, never led Marines, never been responsible for a single life in a war zone. And yet, he is the Secretary of Defense of the United States of America. That is the room. That is the dynamic. And it is about to get worse. Watch.
I have called for your resignation. I didn't think you were qualified before your confirmation, and you have done nothing to inspire confidence in your ability to lead competently. You broke the law in sharing classified information, and in doing so, endangered the lives of our service members that you are responsible for. Your inability to hold yourself accountable makes you incapable to lead. This alone makes you unfit to be the Secretary of Defense. Secretary, do you think the United States should continue supporting Ukraine in its fight against Russia, a nation that is hostile towards the United States?
Well, as you know, sir, President Trump is committed to peace.
No, I just want yes or no answers.
Today, the United States has spent billions of dollars.
Yes or no? Yes or no?
Over years.
Just yes or no. Can I get a yes or no out of you?
We continue to send.
Come on.
Presidential drawdown.
It's that easy. Kindergartners could give me a yes or no. Yes or no.
Yes, we support peace in Ukraine.
Come on. Is this really leadership? You're an embarrassment to the United States. If Russia invades NATO allies, are you going to recommend to the president that we fulfill our Article 5 obligations?
Well, Russia has not invaded NATO allies.
No.
President Trump.
No. I reclaim my time. Yes or no? It's that simple.
There's Article 5 in NATO, which we recognize.
So is the answer yes or no?
That's what Article 5 is, yes.
Good. I'm glad you brought yourself to saying yes. Do you think political allegiance to Trump is a requirement for serving our nation, either in uniform or a civilian in the department?
I'm incredibly proud, as are millions of Americans.
No. Not today, Hegseth. Yes or no?
Congressman, you know what a silly question that is.
But
It's
silly enough
fidelity
to
to the
warrant a
Constitution.
very straightforward answer, yes or no?
We all support and defend the
Okay, let's talk about what just happened. And I mean really talk about it. Because what you just watched is not just a tense exchange between a congressman and a cabinet secretary. It is a document. And what it documents is dangerous. Let me give you 4 things that nobody else is telling you. Number 1, the Signal chat, the full story. You heard Carbajal say Hegseth broke the law and endangered lives. Hegseth's answer was, "Every way I communicate is authorized." Here's what that answer is hiding. In December 2025, 6 months after this hearing, the Pentagon's own Inspector General released its report. And what it found was this. The information Hegseth shared on Signal matched a U.S. Central Command document classified as secret/no foreign. That designation means no foreign nationals, not even close American allies, are allowed to see it. The report said, and I'm going to be very precise here, that what Hegseth sent included the quantity of aircraft and the strike times over hostile territory, 2 to 4 hours before those strikes happened. The Inspector General concluded that if that information had reached U.S. adversaries, Houthi forces could have repositioned, countered American forces, and put U.S. pilots directly at risk. Now here's where it gets interesting. After the report came out, Hegseth went on social media and wrote, "Total exoneration, case closed." But the report he was calling an exoneration literally says his actions created a risk to operational security that could have resulted in failed mission objectives and potential harm to U.S. pilots. Those 2 things cannot both be true. Number 2, he used Signal from inside a secure facility. This detail is buried in the Inspector General report and almost nobody talked about it. Hegseth was not using Signal from his personal phone at home. He was using it from his office at the Pentagon, which is a classified facility where personal devices are prohibited. How? His staff physically hardwired a connection so he could access Signal through a screen in his office without needing to hold his phone. This was not a mistake. This was not carelessness. This was a deliberate setup. Someone, multiple people, organized this arrangement inside one of the most secure buildings on Earth. And when the Inspector General asked to see his phone, Hegseth refused to hand it over. He also refused to sit for an interview. He submitted his defense in writing. That is not the behavior of a man who has nothing to hide. That is the behavior of a man who knows exactly what his phone contains. Number 3, the purge that is still happening. When Carbajal said Hegseth was unfit to lead, he was talking about a pattern, not just one incident. Since taking office, Hegseth has fired or forced out the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, the Chief of Naval Operations, the Air Force Chief of Staff, the Director of the Defense Intelligence Agency, the head of U.S. Cyber Command, the top military lawyers for the Army, the Navy, and the Air Force, the only woman on NATO's military committee. And then, in April 2026, he fired the Army Chief of Staff, General Randy George, during an active military operation. The last time a general was fired during wartime was 1951. Harry Truman fired Douglas MacArthur. That decision shook the country. This one barely made the news for a week. 5 former secretaries of defense, including Jim Mattis, who was appointed by Trump himself, wrote a joint letter to Congress calling these firings reckless and demanding immediate hearings on the national security implications. Congress held no such hearings. Number 4, what "I serve at the pleasure of the president" actually means. When Carbajal asked Hegseth to take responsibility for his actions, Hegseth said, "I serve at the pleasure of the president." I want you to understand why that sentence is not an answer. Every cabinet secretary serves at the pleasure of the president. That is not a statement of accountability. That is a statement of employment. It tells you who can fire you. It says nothing about whether you are responsible for your own actions. In the military, the institution Hegseth now leads, accountability does not work this way. You are accountable for what you do. You are accountable for what the people under you do. You do not push responsibility upward to your commander when things go wrong and then claim authority downward when you want to act. That is the first principle of military leadership. It is what every Marine, soldier, sailor, and airman learns before they do anything else. Carbajal served in that institution. He knows what accountability looks like from the inside, and he knows exactly what it looks like when it is absent. When he said, "Your inability to hold yourself accountable makes you incapable to lead," that was not a political attack. That was a Marine recognizing a leadership failure in the language that Marines use. Here is where we are. It has been almost a year since this hearing. The Inspector General confirmed what Carbajal said was true. More generals have been fired. The lawyers who would challenge illegal orders have been removed. And the man who set up signal access inside a classified facility is still the Secretary of Defense. Carbajal said 6 words at the end of his time. Just get the hell out. He was right, but he is still there.